everyone. It's been a while as I've been super busy doing a lot of foundational work for the School of Sexuality project. More information on that to come soon. After a lot of back and forth on whether I should come on and make a statement about the horrors that are happening in the Middle East, I decided that as a public-facing educator, I needed to share my thoughts and give a bit of advice for all of those parents out there that are at a loss for what to say to their young people. As many of you know, I'm Palestinian. My father came to the United States when he was 18, and he married my mother and had me 3 years later. Needless to say, what's happening in Gaza and in Israel is a personal and complicated issue for myself and for my family. I have heard horror stories from my father's childhood and experienced firsthand the ramifications of being raised by a person who has experienced deep-seated trauma. On the other hand, I've also found most of my solace as an adult in the arms of my best friends who are Jewish. I have sat at their table with my children during Hanukkah and helped plan bat mitzvahs. I've listened to stories about memories of their birthright trips and have learned from their beliefs and wisdom. I am living proof that not only can there be peace between Palestinians and the Jewish community, but there can be friendship. People like me are not rare and exist all over the world, including Israel. I personally do not stand with one side or the other. Rather, I stand with whose work is towards peace, because violence only invokes more violence, and hurt people only hurt people in return. At this time, my Jewish friends are grieving. They need support and love. And at the same time, my people are being stripped of their humanity and being retaliated against. We need empathy. That being said, the realities of living in the Western society often means that the media we receive is not without biases, the news coverage often being framed in a very specific light. I would like to implore you to use your critical thinking skills and ask the following questions. Whose point of view am I not receiving? Have these statements been fact-checked? And who is delivering these messages? Do they have biases of their own? When people say that the situation in the Middle East is nuanced and complicated, they're not lying. It's so complicated that most people don't even know where to start when looking to get information. So I want to recommend a podcast that I love, Wiser Worlds Podcast. They actually recently did a 3-part segment on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict that gives a wonderful and unbiased foundation of knowledge, which will help you better understand what's happening today. I'll tag them below, and additionally, I would recommend following AJ Plus, which I'll also tag. They're a digital news project promoting human rights and aim to uplift the voices of the powerless. I have been a longtime follower and even use a lot of their news reports in my lessons. Their coverage will help to ensure you receive information from the point of view you're probably not receiving in mainstream media. My last piece of advice for all of my caring adults who have young people at home is the chances are your children have already heard about this. They've probably heard something from school, a friend, TV, social media, or reading something on the newspaper. Take the time to have an honest and open conversation with them and let them know what's happening. Lead with open-ended questions. Ask them things like, what have you heard? What do you know? And most importantly, how do you feel? Take your children's lead and don't be scared to be honest. Next, talk to your young people who have social media and teach them to be critical about the content they are seeing. Use the questions I gave you before and add some of your own. These skills are not only crucial for what's happening now, but for their future. Lastly, if you decide to remove social media from your children's devices, talk to them about why you're doing so. Let them know the dangers of being exposed to particular content before they're ready and what effects that may have on their meaning making. You are your young person's most trusted source of information. Have faith that they can handle conversations like these, because if you don't, they're left to try and make sense of all of this all on their own.